I'm going to have a chat today with Daniela from the Mindful Goods Co. Today, I would love to have a chat with you about obviously Amazon. You're a super, like, all your experience and everything that you have with Amazon, and like so many people have so many questions about it, including me. And the fun fact is, it just recently came to Australia. It's recently getting momentum in Australia because a few years ago, I think 4 years ago or 5 years ago, it just came to Australia. So Amazon came to Australia, and now it's actually finally just getting momentum and be more available for everyone. So I would love to have a chat about that. But first of all, would you be so nice to introduce yourself quickly?
Sure. My name is Daniela Bolzmann. I'm the founder of Mindful Goods, where we help brands and agencies either get their listings set up on Amazon, or we help them refresh their listings. So it's basically listing optimization. We're usually the first place that brands come when they're starting their Amazon journey, or after they've plateaued and they need some help boosting their sales.
Okay, awesome. And how long have you been in business with the Mindful Goods Co?
We are almost at 5 years.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
For businesses starting in Amazon, obviously it's a great idea that you can sell everything in the world wherever you are, and if you even have products yourself or not. So it's like a great system. But how do people actually get started, and how do I know as well if a product is right to be sold on Amazon?
Yeah. Great questions, plural. So the first thing is actually validating your product. And thankfully for you guys, it's actually really easy because you can actually see what's performing best in the US market as well. Since the US market is pretty far ahead, you can kind of get an idea of like what's working. That being said, there's still opportunities for like local products that might be a hit in Australia, but maybe not so well known in the United States either. So there's two different angles there. One, I always recommend validating the demand. There's lots of third-party tools like Jungle Scout, Helium 10, Viral Launch. Those are a few of our favorites, but you can actually see what are the monthly sales of people on Amazon today in your category, in your specific niche, with your specific products. And using that data, you can kind of understand, okay, what retail price are they selling at? What are the costs that Amazon's charging, or the fees that Amazon's charging? What are my shipping costs going to be if I use Amazon FBA, which means fulfilled by Amazon? That means they ship from their warehouse, which you do want to do if possible, by the way. And so that's the first step, right? Validating sales, validating your offer, making sure you can hit the right price point to even get found in search, right? Because Amazon, first and foremost, is a search engine. If you don't have the right offer, and it's a very competitive marketplace, so if you don't have a competitive offer, then your products are just not going to be shown very much in the search results. So you won't see as much sales.
Okay, awesome. Those tools are really cool. So they're just able to basically get all the insights that you are trying to, that are obviously really important from the very beginning, and it just show all those information.
Right. Sorry, my dog wants to join the call right now.
Oh, good. Mine just came over here as well, so that's all good. And so obviously the algorithm has a massive impact of how everything is going, as you mentioned before, with being a search engine basically. So what are the things that people need to consider? Obviously there are hundreds, but what are the things, or the big milestones that you think are really important for people, especially at the beginning, to make sure they're actually getting somewhere?
That's huge. That's my bread and butter. So I'll break it down for you.
Bring it on.
Yeah. So when you're first getting started, I really like to recommend two things, right? You need really solid foundational listings, and I'll break that down into our 3-step process in just a moment. But once you have set up your account and your listings are good to go in the proper way, you should be good to turn on traffic, right? If you have a product that is very high in demand, you might get lucky. You might not need to drive your own traffic via advertising or organic methods like social media. There's products that we've worked with, or brands that we've worked with, where they've timed the market great, they're on trend, there's high demand, and they didn't have to push out the gate with advertising. that in the US market is very few and far between at the moment. So most brands have to push their listings with some sort of paid advertising. So that's the step that we don't handle. We have lots of partners that do handle that in all different price ranges. What we handle is primarily setting up those foundational listings and make sure they're set up right. And the reason for that is because if you don't set up your listings properly in the beginning, you're just not going to show up in search results, right? So remembering that Amazon is a search engine, and the way that we break down listings or how we think about it is through a 3-step conversion funnel. So we basically look at 3 pieces of it. One is your SEO. Are you using the right keywords throughout your copy so that Amazon knows what you should be indexed for, how they should serve you up, where they should serve you up in the ecosystem, right? So that's the first step. The second step is when you do show up in those search results, are people clicking on your listing or are they clicking on your competitor's listing? How do you get more of that market share? You do that by optimizing your main image and making sure that there's something compelling about that main image to get those eyeballs and then get those clicks into the listing, right? So once you've gotten found through the SEO, once you've gotten the clicks through the main image, then once they're inside your listing, it's all about conversion. So how do you get them to convert? Our methodology is that every single asset that you upload to your Amazon listing should be serving a purpose. It should be answering questions that your customer has. It should be educating them. It should be whatever it is that your ideal audience is thinking in their head and that's preventing them from buying, that has to be like front and center, getting them to convert, right? And so the way that you do that is making sure that all of your images throughout, because 90% of what we as shoppers digest is visual content, right? So all of those images that you're able to upload onto your listing, product images and what's called A+ content, those are all the images. Every single image should be showing and telling, not just an image of the product at different angles on white. I'm talking about beautiful lifestyle imagery that helps people self-identify with your product, helps people feel emotion around your brand, helps people understand why your product is the perfect one for them. And there's so many different angles and ways that you can do that. So it's just about getting creative and thinking outside the box and thinking, like looking at your competitive set and trying to understand how you can stand apart from the sea of millions of products that are out there on Amazon.
Okay, awesome. And some of the listings that I've seen in the past have like videos and some have like only imagery. Mm-hmm. What would you recommend? A combination of both, or do you think like based on the algorithm currently it's imagery that still work better?
So everyone can upload what's called video shorts to your listing. Only brands who have what's called brand registry can upload what's called A+ content. Hero video, that's the video that goes at the bottom of the carousel, but like at the very tippy top of your listing. So it's like one of the first things that you see in your product images. Then at the bottom, you see a video, right? So the video, the A+ content, and your actual storefront, which is different from an Amazon listing, your storefront, those 3 things are only available to brands who have brand registry. So that means you have to have a trademark or a trademark pending as of lately. So if you even have a trademark pending, usually Amazon will accept your pending trademark and then give you access. And so the A+ content is if you've ever looked at a listing and you scroll down and you're going to go check out the reviews, right before you hit the reviews, there's this section where you can upload these big banners. Lots of brands aren't really using this section correctly. They're kind of just like copy pasting stuff from their website, and it ends up looking like these like blobs of like text that nobody's going to read. And then these like hodgepodge squares of images that they just like, you know, go to their website or go to their Dropbox and just try to figure out how to put it in there. But really, if you think about it, that space can actually be designed like a landing page within your listing. And the reason why that's so critical is because Amazon themselves are saying that that section of content, on average across the board, brands are seeing a lift in sales of 5%. That's including the brands that I just mentioned that are not even doing it right? And so we've seen brands that are achieving way higher than that. DataHawk released a study saying that they've seen brands who go from 0 A+ content to having A+ content are seeing a lift in conversion of 72% and up into the hundreds.
Seriously?
Yes. And
okay, so trademark as soon as possible.
You should absolutely. If you think about it, you're getting so much more space on your listing that's going to help attract and stop the scroll before shoppers either leave or when they've gotten past all that advertising that's distracting them from shopping, it's really the last chance that you have to tell them one or two more things about your brand and your product that's going to get them to convert right there. So it's a huge conversion piece.
Awesome. And are there additional costs involved in like having those listings, or is it just because you're trademarked?
It's just because you're trademarked. So the cost is the trademark itself. Applying for brand registry is free. Setting up the content is free. I mean, obviously, if you pay us to do it, we charge, but
well, it's gonna get so much better anyway. So why won't you?
It is. But if you need to see examples, you can see lots of examples on our website. We just actually updated a bunch more examples today. So there's loads of examples if anyone wants to go take a look. It's mindfulgoods.co.
Awesome. And in terms of like, you mentioned before that it would be better to fulfill through Amazon. Is it going to impact as well the algorithm? Because obviously Amazon is favoring. Okay, cool.
Totally. On average, we see brands organically get upwards of 20% more sales just by doing FBA.
Okay,
so
awesome.
When you can, I recommend it. Products that can't are products that are, let's say, meltables that can only use FBA certain times of the year when it's not hot. Let's see, products that are less likely to break. So any type of glass you wouldn't want to be sending to FBA. It'll just have a lot of breakage and extra fees there. Items that are too heavy are oftentimes difficult. So you really have to be thinking of like, is this a good e-com product in general? And if it is, and it doesn't have like a short shelf life, like food products have to have, we recommend like a year shelf life or more. Amazon, if it hits that 90-day point of shelf life, they'll just take it and throw it away. So, so you have to be thinking about those things in advance. But assuming it meets all of that criteria, and the obvious answer is yes, then you would definitely want to send to FBA. I think a lot of first-time entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs that maybe have never used their own warehouse before, it can seem like such an upfront cost. It can scare you. But really, like, Amazon's not even charging you until you make the sale, and then they're taking their cut, right? And if you think about it, if you send 100 or 200 or 300 or 500 or 1,000 units to Amazon, whatever the demand, you have to look at the demand before you send these numbers, right? But let's just say the right number for you is 300 units. Imagine packing 300 units out of your house and having to go to UPS or FedEx or the post office however many times per week to get your products out on time according to Amazon standards. I mean, it just becomes a nightmare really quickly. So, I mean, all of that time that you get back as an entrepreneur is so valuable. It's time that you can be spending on your marketing, time that you could be spending on the other 150 things you need to be doing to grow your business. You should not be sitting at home packing things one by one and shipping it. You should be shipping 100 units to Amazon and let them do it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And with like, what are the current cuts? Is it like 30% that they're taking from the product price, or what is the current FBA?
On average, 15 to 30%, depending on, well, I don't know what it is in Australia, but in the United States, it's from 15 to 30%.
Okay, awesome. And for some clients that they're having their own website and everything, but they also focus highly on Amazon, the people that we're working with, and previously we've sent traffic to the listing, and then we had issues with like tracking everything, because obviously there's like, we can't obviously have the pixel on Amazon. And what do you recommend for those people that are having traffic sent to their listings to best see what actually works and what doesn't?
Let's break down really quick. Let's break down really quick the difference between a listing and a storefront, just for anybody who's that's super important, because a lot of clients reach out to us and they ask us to help them set up a storefront on Amazon. But really, they're asking for us to help them with their listings, their product page. Your listing is your product page on Amazon. That's where all the action happens. That's where people are buying. We personally don't even recommend setting up your storefront or having us set up your storefront, because we do a custom design and really trick it out. But we don't recommend investing in that until you're ready to invest in external traffic, working with someone like you who's driving traffic specifically to Amazon, right? And so when you're at that stage, it totally makes sense to set up your storefront and make sure that you've customized it and you've really thought about the user experience. It's the only uninterrupted space without advertising taking over. But for the most part, if you're first getting started, you're focused on your product pages themselves, and you wouldn't ever want to drive external traffic, paid external traffic that's cold to those product pages, because you're actually going to hurt your sales, right? So with people, if you're sending cold traffic to your product page on Amazon and the traffic is not warmed up, what's going to happen is you're going to get a lot of bounces. And Amazon is tracking that data, and they're going to see that people are bouncing from your listing, and then they're going to deprioritize you in terms of rank, right? So, Chunchy, come here, buddy, come join us. That is where you would focus on your listings purely in the beginning. You want to be driving internal traffic through Amazon's own advertising. But then when you're ready to turn on your external traffic, you want to be driving to your storefront. Your storefront is going to be where you can track those conversions. And now they have what's called Amazon attribution. So it's a lot easier to track the actual purchases that are happening from external traffic to Amazon. And that's where you're going to kind of be able to warm people up and then get a one-click buy straight from the storefront.
Okay, awesome. It's always going to be to the storefront. It's never going to be to the listing.
Usually, even if you're not doing to the storefront, if you're not doing the storefront, you'd be doing to some kind of landing page before you hit the storefront, because what you don't want is to increase that bounce rate, right? So you want to warm them up a little bit before they get to, if they're going to a product page, there has to be something in between the traffic and the listing, or there should be in most cases. So unless you're driving in warm traffic, right? Like if you're retargeting from your website and driving to Amazon, because a lot of times, let's say a shopper in the United States, like 50% of us are primed to be shopping on more than 50% of us are primed to be shopping on Amazon. So if I hit your website and I have to go walk the dog, I have a million other things to do, I might not want to take out my credit card and buy right there, right? But if I'm walking the dog 5 minutes later or 10 minutes later, and I happen to be on my phone while I'm walking the dog, and I'm like, I get retargeted for that ad, and it takes me to Amazon, I'm like, oh, boom, one click, done. I don't have to take out my credit card, right? So it's like thinking about, like, just because like a shopper, like you have to think about them in terms of like where they're prime, who is the buyer, right? There's lots of different buyers that are hitting your website that might feel comfortable and be ready to buy right in that moment. For the ones that are not, that are like very busy in their lives, very convenience driven, it's okay to set up retargeting and try to hit them and get them to Amazon, you know, and that's only going to help propel your sales on Amazon. Amazon loves when you drive external traffic.
Okay, awesome. And what do you, like, I love all of that is happening right now. What do you do? What are like the most common mistakes that you feel that people are doing? Obviously, that we just mentioned before, with like driving traffic to the listing is one of them. Not looking into like the customer journey or anything like that. But what do you feel like is the biggest mistakes that people are doing?
Say that one more time. The biggest mistakes for which part?
For people that are in Amazon and they feel like, okay, it's a quick and easy way to make money, but what is a very common mistake that you see across the board with the different listings that you and your team are working with?
Oh my gosh, the biggest one that I see, the biggest one that I see, to be honest, is when you're in a rush and you just want to get set up and start selling, and you start copy pasting things from your website or your Dropbox or whatever. And you're not thoughtfully setting up your listings in the steps that I mentioned before, right? Because if you take the copy on your website, and let's say you did a little bit of SEO research, and it's like but your research is probably from Google. It's not from Amazon data, right? So you can pull keywords that, like, the way that people shop on Google is very different. The way that people shop on or look for things on YouTube is very different from the way that people shop on Amazon. People shop on Amazon because they know what they want. You know, so if they already know what they want, you want to know exactly what those keywords are related to your product, and you want them in your listing. If they're not in your listing because you copy and pasted them from your website, which is probably done with Google SEO, not with Amazon SEO, then you're not going to get the right traffic to your listing, right? So it's just about like doing all of the right setup in the beginning. I can't even tell you how many brands have like come to us and they're just like, I set up my listings and I just don't know why I'm getting any sales. And then you go look at the listings, the content is terrible, the photos are awful, the main image is pixelated, you can't really see the product really well. Your product doesn't shine. you know,
Yeah.
and you don't have SEO infusion into your copy. So it's like, of course you're not making any sales, you know, like, would you want to buy your own product if it looked like this? Like you have to look through that lens, right? Of like the ideal shopper. So that's one of the biggest things. The second thing that everyone should know if they're considering selling on Amazon is that if you are a brand new seller to Amazon, meaning you have never signed up for an Amazon account, like a Amazon seller account, you can actually get an invite from an Amazon rep. So basically, there's reps that are basically like salespeople for Amazon that are out there trying to get more and more brands onto Amazon. You want to be invited through them. And the way that you get access to them is through consultants like me, other agencies. We all have connections to these reps, right? If you get an invite to these reps, from these reps, they get to basically work with you for up to 12 months in a calendar year. The benefit of getting their help is that, let's say something goes wrong when you're setting up your listings. And for anyone that hasn't sold on Amazon, what you should know is it's a love-hate relationship, and you just have to embrace it. Like, you just have to know that going in. And you know, I full honesty, full transparency, it is a love-hate relationship. Anyone who hasn't experienced this themselves, they haven't been selling long enough, right? So basically, when you get to work with a rep, if something goes wrong and you have to file a support ticket to get help from seller support, you can email your rep, give them the ticket ID number, and they bump you up to the front of the line. So you get a response way faster than anybody else.
Awesome.
Right? It's such a lifesaver. I can't even tell you. It's huge. So these reps are out there. There's a lot of them, and they would love to give people invites. And all you have to do is just like ask around consultants, Amazon agencies, people who are familiar with the Amazon space. They all have connections to reps, and you just have to find the rep that's in your category and tell them you're looking to join Amazon. And when they send you an invite or a sign up link, then you get to work with a rep directly for up to a year, which is amazing. It's a huge, time saver. So that's a big one. Because there's a lot of brands that like they've signed up for their account. So they're still new, but they signed up for their account, and then they come to us, they're like, I signed up for my account like 6 months ago, and I just it's too complicated. I never got it started. And I'm like, darn it, you know, like I can help you. We'll get you set up. We'll do everything. We'll get cash flow going. We'll get your list, everything, right? But they missed out on getting a rep. And that's the bummer, because the rep does help expedite, especially in your first year when you're like kind of like trying to learn the ropes and like you're frustrated and have to like call Amazon and deal with these little things that everyone hates dealing with early on or ever. It's really nice to have Amazon support to like escalate your tickets.
Yeah, I was like, with other companies that we worked with, they were doing Amazon as well, and they're like, it's impossible to get hold of like someone. But that really is a good solution to make sure you like nail it from the very beginning in order to make things in life just so much easier.
Yeah, and you should know now the sign up process. I don't know if it's the same in Australia, but the sign up process in the States has gotten a lot harder. Before you didn't have to submit as much documentation. Now I've heard that they're actually doing like interviews, like where you have to jump on and they have to see that you're a real person, which is actually a good thing, right? Like they're validating these are real humans, not bots creating these accounts and selling stuff from China. Like these are like, they're trying to make sure that this is a marketplace for brands. Like Amazon does want to work with brands. So little by little, Amazon's getting better at that kind of stuff.
Awesome. And with that, what is the perfect age of like of a listing where you think like, cool, it takes at least, I don't know, with normal SEO, it obviously takes about like 6 months to see some kind of results to get the ball rolling. But how does it work with Amazon? What is like a good time and sweet spot to actually expect results and expect growth?
It's totally dependent on demand and your product. So I have clients that have like launched and immediately are seeing like doubling, tripling sales, no advertising whatsoever, and they just happen to be in a high velocity niche that no one's really targeting yet, and there happens to be a lot of demand in those spaces, right? And then you have other brands that, you know, they're just in a really tough competitive niche. So it's like that kind of research you can figure out in advance to understand how many people are selling products like yours. What is the demand overall in the marketplace for products like yours? Maybe you're ahead of the trend on something that's going to be big soon, and that's interesting, right? Because we've had some clients that are like inventors of products, which is really difficult and tricky because there's no demand for something that people don't know exists, right? So that can be really hard on Amazon. But we've had another couple clients that that they just timed the market right and knew, because they had experience in the space, that this was going to be the next evolution of this type of product. And so they launched something like spot on right when people were looking for it, and their sales skyrocketed. So it's all over the place, to be honest. There is no like rhyme or reason sometimes. What I will say is that everyone talks about this thing called the honeymoon period, where like the first like 30 days or up to 90 days of your product, you'll see more sales in general than you would, because Amazon wants to give you a little bit of a push. So when you first launch,
Yes.
they put you higher in the rankings than you normally would, because they want to test you out and see how you're doing. But that's also a great time to be force feeding traffic into the algorithm, because you want to show Amazon more sales than the sales that Amazon's giving you, right? And Amazon algorithm works basically on this thing called what's called flywheel, right? So if you imagine like a wheel turning around, and if you put a little bit more, like push a little bit more into the flywheel, it's going to go faster,
Yes.
right? And so if you put a little bit of more ad spend, it's going to give you more sales. More ad spend, give you more sales. Like that's the way that Amazon works. So if you can pull all these levers and get more traffic, get more conversions, Amazon's going to reward you. And they do track whether you're sending traffic from social or paid ads or anywhere else. Like they do monitor all of that and reward you.
Okay, awesome. So just to summarize again, so first of all, make sure you do your research to see like what kind of products are actually working, what is the demand, and what are the sales numbers and all of that. Make sure you get to Amazon Rep as soon as possible when you like sign up for a listing, to like through people like you, for example. Make sure you set up the listings.
Before you sign up for your Amazon account, try to get your invite to sign up for an account. You want to get that through a rep. If you go sign up for your seller account right now, you won't get a rep.
Okay, awesome. And then you should make sure that you set up a listing first before you set up like a product store. And if you and then send traffic to the product store and not to listings directly. And make sure you're trademarked so you can have like all those additional goodies that you would not have otherwise.
Totally.
And make sure you work with someone like you to make sure everything is nailed and set up correctly.
That's it.
Awesome.
And then work with someone like you to make sure you're driving external ads.
It's like it's all connected. I love that. You mentioned last time you have, for people that are getting in touch with you and want to make sure that they are set up correctly, you have some kind of free assessments and freebies and things like that. How do people get in touch with you to make sure that they have like the chance to get some assessment or be able to work with you?
You can actually reach out on our website at mindfulgoods.co. We also have at launchreadylistings.com. You can watch our free training of everything we just talked about today. And then if you're already selling on Amazon and you're curious where the low-hanging fruit is on your listing, we do what's called a mini audit. It's $150. Everyone that has bought one has said that it's worth 10 times that amount. But what we do is, because we look at listings day in and day out, and we've optimized for hundreds of brands, we basically at this point look at your Amazon listing and walk you through the 3-step conversion funnel that we talked about today. And then we itemize for you all of the low-hanging fruit that you can tackle to start increasing your conversions today. So we give you actionable insights that you can execute on.
Awesome. That is so good. And I'm like so excited about Amazon right now, which is really cool. So I'm just going to link everything up. Obviously, link up your account, and from the account, you can go to the website and so on. So is there anything else that you want to share that we haven't covered? Because obviously, it's a massive topic in itself.
No, we covered a lot. And I feel like I tried to keep this really high level. I noticed that we used to get super granular on any kind of talk that I did, and it just goes over people's heads. But if you just really think about Amazon in terms of those two steps of setting up your listings properly and making sure that you are driving traffic in a strategic way, those are the two pieces that you need to be successful on Amazon right now. And that's it.
Awesome. Great. Easy.
There's a
No,
lot
it's
of
not,
stuff
but
within there.
yeah.
There's a lot of stuff within there, but it's really just thinking about those two steps and tackling them one by one, and then you're off to the races. Because a lot of times brand owners will focus on all the wrong things. The signing up for the account, there's a lot of other little things that it's just not worth spending too much time on.
Yeah, okay, awesome. Thank you so much for your time. That was really interesting, and I loved all the goodness and knowledge nuggets that you shared. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, if anyone is keen for Amazon, make sure you touch base with Daniela and her team.
Definitely.